Now that PS5 has finally shown itself, I think this is about as good as time as any to talk about the next generation consoles and whether or not you should be getting it in a not too distant future. So which next generation console that would suit you? The PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X, or should you all just stick it to good old PC? Before we discuss that, I want to give huge thanks to John Barubi and Kurzestov for the donations. You guys are fantastic. It's funny how the console versus PC discourse still exists even to this day among the most hardcore fanboys of each of those platforms, and despite me being rather biased towards the PC platform, in terms of who really wins between the console versus PC, in my opinion, none of them really wins on everything. They have many benefits and drawbacks, some of which not everyone needs. Personally, I've been gaming a lot more on my PC compared to the consoles, and I do have both the PS4 and the Switch. The reason why the Xbox One is not on my list of consoles that I own is because the games that I wanted to play in Xbox One are already on PC, and as much as I love the backwards compatibility with the Xbox 360, it's not enough for me to be a major selling point for the console. So as someone who primarily games on a PC, I would make this video so that you people can lean more into joining the PC master race. I would, but then I realized that not everyone in the world have the same preferences as I do. So instead of outright recommending you one platform over the other, I want to try to determine the best and the worst qualities of each platform and try to think of the kind of things that you need to satisfy your gaming experience, because different people have different needs and not one platform can truly satisfy the needs of everyone. Purchase decision. Let's start with the simplicity of purchasing one. With a console, it's simple. Pick a console and buy them. There may be digital version of the consoles, there may be enhanced editions of the consoles. Some console naming schemes might confuse the living crap out of the parents who have to buy their poor kids Fortnite or something. I mean, seriously, Microsoft, get a grip. But at least when you buy a console, you can play games on it. With a PC, you have to think about the games that you want to play. Think about the spec that is perfect for you. Think about the right motherboard, CPU, GPU, power supply, storage, and think about the budget that you're gonna spend to adhere to those components. It's a lot more time consuming to plan or think about all of that, and some people just don't want to go through that. Some people just want to get a gaming console and play games on them, and that's fine. And yes, there are pre-built PCs out there that exist, and yes, there are system builders out there that do these kinds of services, but they do come with a little bit more cost, and some of them might overcharge you. Thankfully, there are many resources online such as YouTube channels, video tutorials, and many experienced PC gamers that you can ask your questions to, including myself. No, really, you can email me or DM me on my Twitter and ask your PC or console gaming questions for free. I might not have the knowledge of what's going on with the PC market in your specific region, but I do have knowledge in which PC parts you need to get for your specific needs. But even still, there are some people who don't want to take the effort of asking questions or watching through all of these YouTube videos, which is perfectly fine. I understand that not everyone has all the time in the world, so they're obviously gonna pick the console and just run with it. So in terms of purchasing decision, I'd say the console wins in this front for being a lot more straightforward than the PC, but that being said, if you are willing to take the time to learn about the PC components and all of that, you are gonna be rewarded with a PC that can run the games that you want at very high frame rates depending on your budget. But that's the thing about the PC, isn't it? It really depends on the game. It really depends on the budget. It really depends on what kind of experience you're looking for. It really depends on a lot of things, and the more you ask what kind of thing it depends on, the more factors that you're gonna put in the decision making, which does make it a lot more complicating and time consuming. So to put it short, the console wins for requiring less decision making, even if you're gonna get the same console anyway, but the PC wins for allowing users more personalization, customization, and options in general, even if you do need to work your head a lot more. First time installation. A console's installation is simple. Just plug in the power adapter and the HDMI to your TV. After waiting for a while, your console is ready to either download or play all the games that you want. Simple and easy, no other hassles. With a PC, you have to build a PC first, which in my opinion is actually pretty fun. It's basically adult Lego as the guys call it, but some people might find that either too complicating or they're just too afraid of going through each and every step of the process. After you built it, you're also gonna have to install Windows as well. After you install Windows, you install the drivers that you need for your PC, the motherboard drivers, the graphics graphic drivers, the chipset drivers, the audio drivers. Then after all of that, you install Steam or whatever PC digital distribution store that you use, and then you log in and then finally use Steam to download all the games that you want to play. This isn't really an issue with pre-built systems as they already have Windows and driver installed, but again, I recommend you to not purchase any of these pre-built systems because they might gouge the prices against your benefit. So in terms of first time installation, I'd say no contest in this one. Console easily wins. Games. Let's be honest here. In terms of the quantity of games, the PC easily wins this one. There are so many games in the Steam library. There are games from the 90s, there are games from the 2000s, 2010s, the indie games, the Japanese games, the Korean games, Eastern European games, and of course there are games on this year and the upcoming years as well, assuming that Steam can still stand. And this doesn't even count the amount of emulators there are on the PC right now, which adds even more numbers into the massive number of library of PC games. The consoles simply cannot compete with the quantity, but they can, however, compete with quality. Although this one is more of a subjective judgment, the consoles do have exclusives, and these exclusives are very good. And if you're just playing current gen titles and not interested to play those old games for those old people, then sure, get yourself a console, especially when they're a lot cheaper these days, at least in the West. We'll get to regional issues and pricing in a bit. A lot of the newer AAA games that are developed for PC do require a beefy system if you want to play them with high frame rates. You can make a PC that doesn't play these games at higher frame rates, but at that point, you might as well buy a console. So this one is more of a tie. It depends on what kind of games you're looking for, and it depends on the kind of things you're looking for in a game. Speaking of frame rate, performance. The next generation consoles are going to be outfitted with the latest and greatest hardwares, 8 Zen 2 cores, 10 plus teraflops GPU, high-speed SSDs. All of these amazing specs are going to run a lot of these great next-gen AAA games on at least 30 FPS. Not exactly a massive improvement from last gen, but to be honest, this particular part doesn't really bother me and probably a lot of the console players out there. A lot of console players might be content with just playing their games on 30 FPS, even if it looks choppy, or I suppose the nicer term for it, cinematic. And it's not like you need to play all the games on 60 FPS, or at least for those games that are more movie-like than they are actual video games. Those games can run on 30 FPS just fine, and you'd still have an overall playable experience. That depends on who you're asking though. Some people understandably might go 60 FPS or GTFO. The games that do need to run on 60 FPS are the games that genuinely require fast reflexes and fast response times. FPS games, esports games, fighting games in general absolutely need to run on 60 FPS at minimum. If they're not running at that frame rate, they would provide a huge disadvantage for the players who really need to have the least amount of input lag and the most amount of reaction time. If you're a player who really needs to play video games at a very high frame rate and you really want to score competitively in esports titles, there's no contest. You have to pick the PC. The PC offers the best platform for people who are into competitive gaming. Yes, it's gonna cost a lot more, but you're gonna score a lot easier. The PC can offer frame rates up to 240 plus, depending on the game, the settings, the graphics cards, and the monitor that you use. A very high frame rate allows the players to have a more competitive edge because the frames are delivered into you much faster. See this video from NVIDIA that highlights why it's better to have more frames. That being said, if you are a fighting game player, they're still using the console as the primary platform for fighting games. I mean, it's obvious considering that you wouldn't be using a Switch emulator to play Smash Bros. Ultimate when you can just use a Switch. So if you're a fighting game player and you are interested in the competitive scene, you might want to consider using the console as your platform. If you're just using it casually, then the PC is still a good platform for it if those games are available on the PC, of course. So to sum up, it really depends. If you couldn't tell the difference, get a console. If you do need that higher frame rates, get a PC, even if you have to pay extra for it. Graphics. The PC offers quite a lot of options in what kind of graphical settings that the users want. Not only that, but some PC games allow the users to mod the game so that the game looks a lot more beautiful than it was. But despite the amount of graphical customization that you can do, quite a lot of people are still happy with the graphics that the console games have. Not that console graphics don't look beautiful, they do. It's just just that the PC allows for more customization. This is more of a subjective pick, and it really depends on which games that you select as your candidate of best looking, but objectively speaking, the PC offers more graphical customizations. What you see in the console graphics is what you get, so if you're happy with it, that's alright, but if you're not, then the PC is for you. Multiplayer. This one depends on what kind of multiplayer that you're talking about. If you're talking about local multiplayer, it definitely has to go with the consoles. You just cannot beat the experience of playing multiplayer games in your lovely couch with your friends and buddies. Yes, the PC does offer local multiplayer as well, but you do need 2 controllers, and unfortunately, a lot of developers just don't really think of the possibility that you can put 2 controllers on a PC and play 2-player games locally. If we're talking about online multiplayer, however, that's a little more complicating. PC multiplayer is pretty much free. You don't have to pay anything other than the game, and it's microtransactions if you're into that sort of thing. All of the console manufacturers will charge you for a subscription of their online gaming services in order for you to play games online. Now, compared to the PC, that's one unnecessary load for the price, but some of these companies have attempted to compensate the load by giving you either free games or discounted games every month, and by free, I mean you are allowed to rent that game as long as you are subscribed to their online services. Be wary of Nintendo's online service though, I heard that it's not very good. So you either go with the PC and not pay online for multiplayer whatsoever and not get games every month, or you go with the consoles and do pay online for multiplayer, but you do get some free games every month. Pick your poison. Other features. Again, this is more of a subjective criteria, but I'm gonna at least sum up what each platforms can do. The PC can obviously do a lot more than just play video games. You can also edit videos, programming, make presentations, watching films, all sorts of things that the Windows platform can do. The consoles can also be used as a media platform rather than a gaming platform. It can play 4K Blu-ray films or TV series, streaming films or TV series from your favorite websites, and that's it, or at least the ones that I personally find useful. So again, pick your poison on this one. Yes, the PC can do a lot of other productivity and entertainment tasks, but keep in mind that not every PC has a Blu-ray player or a disc player in general, even if it can stream all the movies that you like online. If you want a gaming platform and a media platform to play all your Blu-rays, then go ahead and get a console. Regional problems. Depending on the region that you're living in right now, the price of a PC or a console might be either cheaper or pricier. Depending on the region that you're living in right now, your local friends or family members might not have been playing the kind of games that you usually play. Before you make your purchasing decisions, I suggest you to please check on your local regions to make sure that you're not getting yourself scammed. I'm sure that most of you are smart enough to make comparisons between the price of a console or a PC in your region compared to the price in other people's region. For example, in my region in Indonesia, people primarily play video games on either the PC or in the mobile. The mobile market here is still a very popular gaming market, and the PC is popular because that's where a lot of the most popular MOBAs and other online games are. The consoles, on the other hand, are more of a niche market here, which means that they're gonna be a lot more expensive compared to the PC. Considering that the most popular games on the PC here are low-spec games like Dota 2 or CSGO, the PC that people build tend to be on the cheaper side. So try to check on your local market and see what the cheapest options for you to go to in order to enjoy whatever games that you love playing these days. Maintenance. As I said in the first part, the consoles absolutely win in terms of purchasing decision simplicity. The PC requires quite a lot more thinking and consideration in this department. However, the console can break, and by the time it's broken, well, you're gonna have to replace the entire thing. With a PC, if there's a broken component within it, you don't have to spend as much as when you build the PC. So instead of paying 100%, you only pay maybe 10 to 50% depending on which PC component that got broken. If a console gets broken, you have to pay 100% of it, unless if it's the hard drive, which is very simple to replace and definitely doesn't cost 100% of your console. So once again, pick your poison. The PC offers better and easier maintenance at the cost of complexity, whereas the console offers simplicity at the cost of not as easy maintenance. Censorship. PC, there's no contest in this one. All of the console manufacturers have censored their games in some form of way in order to adhere to the standards of the ratings boards. Either that or to make sure that they don't offend anyone who doesn't like the natural display of the human body. If you're not a fan of this moralistic digital botchery, you have to pick the PC. At least with the PC, you can have the knowledge that a lot of the things that are being censored can be modified to your heart's content. That being said, a lot of game developers, especially the Japanese ones who are still making these fan service centered games, have always prioritized in developing them to the consoles in mind in order to be released in their own region in Japan. That mindset is slowly but surely changing as of late, so if you're someone who is not a fan of censorship but your favorite game developer is still developing games in a console that censors their games, please politely tell them to bring their games into the PC. Next gen or PC. So let's say that you already followed these considerations and made a decision that you're gonna get a next generation console. Which one should you get? The PS5 or the Series X? Well, considering that both consoles offer backwards compatibility with current gen games, the best course of action would be saving up money to buy the next gen version of the one that you already own right now. I don't think anyone who had a PS4 and bought PS4 games would just go buy an Xbox Series X anytime soon, or vice versa. It would be a waste of all the library they bought in those particular consoles. And I think the same goes to the PC crowd. If you're already spending a lot of money on games in one specific platform, it would be a waste to spend more money in another platform and building your libraries again there. But that being said, it is possible for people who primarily game on a console to have a PC on their hand. Actually, it's very possible to own both. I own both, so why not get the best of both worlds and own both platforms? You get the console exclusives, and you also get the benefits of the PC. Granted, this is more of an expensive option, but hey, it's an option. But considering that we're still in the transitionary period where a lot of the future titles are gonna be released in the current gen platforms alongside the next gen platforms, I'd say it's best for them to just stick with the platforms that they have for now and wait. That being said, the PS5 and the Series X do offer backwards compatibility, at least for the current gen consoles, and they do offer performance enhancements of the games within those current gen consoles. If you are really interested in what performance enhancements it can offer, then yes, go right ahead and buy the console at day one, or at least wait for the reviews to come in. Conclusion. The one thing I want to do in this video is to highlight the fact that due to many of these significant factors, there is really no clear win between a console and a PC. Both of those platforms cater to different types of people, and there's nothing wrong with playing your games in either of those, or even both of those. So to anyone who is still having this console versus PC discussion, just be aware that the platform that you're trying to defend doesn't always appeal to the people that you're trying to attack, and there's nothing wrong with that. That being said, the discussions usually come from people spreading straight up misinformation, so if you are correcting those misinformation, go right ahead and correct those. If you are shilling on a platform without any consideration of other people's needs, it would be wise for you to digest the content of this tank.